Miami Township Board of Trustees, July 10th, 2018 meeting to order. We start every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Morris.
Here.
Mr. Berry.
Here.
Mr. Culp.
Here.
I'd like to thank everybody for attending this evening. I'm going to ask all of us on the board and staff to please do your best to speak directly into these microphones. I've had members of the audience say they've had hard trouble hearing us in prior meetings, so if you can't hear us, raise your hand in the back and we'll do our best to speak up. And if you choose to give a presentation or address the board, please do the same. Get real close to this mic, speak clearly, and everybody will be able to hear you. So very pleased to have everybody here with us this evening. On this July 10th meeting, we begin each meeting with the reading of the casualties. I'm very pleased to announce we have no casualties from Operation Inherent Resolve. Captain McGill, first responders.
I'm sorry. 33 Paint Creek Joint EMS Fire District, Greenfield, Ohio. Into watch June 24th, 2018. Fire Cadet Devin Coney, 34, Austin Fire Department, Texas. End of watch June 26th, 2018. Fire Lieutenant Benny Hutchins, 62, Philadelphia Fire Department, Pennsylvania. End of watch June 27th, 2018. Firefighter Michael Goodnight, 55, West Liberty Fire Department, Salisbury, North Carolina. End of watch July 4th, 2018. Officer Richard Lopez, 52, New York City Police Department, New York. End of watch June 24th, 2018. Officer Matthew Mazzani, 41, Mentor Police Department, Ohio. End of watch June 24th, 2018. Special Agent Timothy Ensley, age not available, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, ICE, Child Exploitation Investigations, Indonesia. End of watch June 24th, 2018. Trooper Nicholas Clark, 29, New York State Police, New York. End of watch July 2nd, 2018. Officer View Nguyen, 50, Cleveland Police Department, Ohio. End of watch July 6th, 2018. Canine Cade, 5, Hendricks County Sheriff's Office, Indiana. End of watch July 4th, 2018. That's all I have.
If we could observe a moment of silence, please. Thank you. We will now proceed with the agenda. Before we get started, for those of you who may not have attended a board meeting this year, we have added these requests to speak to the board public comment cards. These are in reference to folks who may want to address the board this evening. These are not required relative to the public hearings that will be held on each of the zoning cases. So if you want to speak to the board on a matter outside of those that will be open for public comments, please fill one of these out and pass it forward, and we'll allow you to address the board during the public comments section. The purpose behind this is to give us an opportunity to collect your information to make sure we do due diligence and follow up, because a lot of times it's hard to pick up recordings and take those notes. So if you wanted to address the board on anything other than any of the zoning cases that are here tonight, please fill one of these out, pass it over to Captain McGill, and we'll get this thing going. All right, with that, I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris.
Aye.
Mr. Berry.
Aye.
Mr. Culp. Aye.
We will now move into department reports. Acting Administrator, Mr. Snyder.
Good evening, Board. I have no formal items tonight from administration. And with that, I know we have a Quite a bit on our agenda tonight, so we'll move straight into the department reports. Captain McGill. Mr. Mayberry.
Good evening. I just have an update tonight. Back in May, the board passed a couple resolutions for the submittals of CDBG grants, one for the road department, one for the parks department. I'm happy to report that a recommendation has been made by Montgomery County to partially fund each of those two grant applications. So from this point, it will go on to HUD for approval, and then if it's ultimately approved, got a date of November of this year through the HUD process, it will fall into the 2019 fiscal year for projects. So again, that is one for parks and one for roads, and they're both in relation to ADA compliance. Are there any questions? There's a lot of information submitted back in May for those resolutions, but are there any questions from the board currently?
Approximately when was the last time we got one of these grants? It's been a number of years.
Yeah, I have not in roads or parks.
It's probably been at least 15 to 20 years.
Excellent. Well, good work. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will stress that this was a coordinated effort between road department and community development, and I want to thank them for a lot of time and hard work in putting these applications together with us. Any other questions for Public Works?
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
I do not have any other formal items. We do have several public hearings tonight under community development. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Seeing none.
With that, we'll move on to Kyle Hinkleman with IT.
I have nothing formal for the board this evening.
Questions for Mr. Hinkleman? With that, we'll move on to Clay McCord with Finance.
Good evening, Board. I actually have 3 items for your consideration tonight. The first is a resolution to establish a tax increment financing district for some recently acquired property, the end of Vienna Parkway. And the other 2 resolutions are actually an opportunity to renew the existing police and fire levies that are set to expire at the end of the year. The 2 levies that are set to expire at the end of this year, the end of 2018, this is a request to renew those, put those renewals on the ballot for the November 6th general election.
Any questions for Mr. McCord? Just for those in the audience and listening online who may not have had a chance to read these resolutions, and just for clarification of what Mr. McCord, make sure I got it correct. So the first resolution, 070, is to create a tax incremental financing district for the property recently acquired by the township at the end of what's currently Vienna Parkway.
Correct.
And those dollars, it will allow for an offset of taxes to be used for what purpose?
For the public improvements that may take place on that parcel, pending any development that takes place on that property, the taxes from that, those tax payments would go towards the reimbursement or the payment of any public improvements such as roads, sewer connections, any public improvement that's defined by the statute.
So in reading the exhibit, just to, again, add clarification to those in the audience, these dollars can be used for construction, reconstruction, extension, opening, improving, widening, grading, draining, curbing, or changing of the lines and traffic patterns of roads, streets, no necessary bridges in that area, any pedestrian traffic, traffic calming devices, sidewalks, bikeways, medians, viaducts. So this will create for a period of how long a group of dollars that can be used for those things?
This is for a 10-year limited life TIF. So it'd be for 10 years. Following the, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, when the first improvements go in place, that's when that parcel would kick in.
Correct. There
So
is a-
it wouldn't necessarily expire in 2028, but it would be if something were built in 2019 and they began to collect TIF payments on that in calendar year 2020, then the TIF would expire at the end of that 10-year period.
Would the TIF then be renewable?
I don't know if you can do a renewal.
It's not necessarily an automatic renewal. Obviously, you could impose a new 10-year TIF potentially. So.
Okay. And Mr. McCord, the other two resolutions you referenced are to place renewal levies on the ballot for existing funding of the police and fire department
That's correct.
at current levels, no increases.
No increases, no changes, yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
That is all the department reports we have, Mr. President, and turn it back over to the board.
Thank you. With that, we are now moving into the public comments section period of the meeting. So if you'd like to address the board on any topic, you're welcome to come to the board. Just for other point of clarification, because 8 months ago, I was in the audience in this meeting, and I didn't clearly understand how these meetings worked. So the public comments period is a time when anybody can come, address the board, make your comments known. Traditionally, it's 3 to 5 minutes, will be timed. The board does not necessarily have to respond. It's a time for you to share your thoughts. So you may ask a question, we may or may not have the answer to that question, or may choose or not choose to respond. The same will take place in each of the open public comment periods during the zoning requests. So at this time, does anybody have any public comments that they'd like to come forward? Yes, sir. Please approach the microphone, the new podium we have. Speak clearly into the mic. Name and address, please.
My name is Thomas Grady. I live at 2580 Vienna Estates Drive. This just concerns the last item of business you discussed. Do I understand that the tax dollars raised for this purpose, and set aside for that purpose, will only come from development of the land immediately adjacent to the roadway or the township general?
The resolution that is being proposed, which has not yet been passed, would create a tax incremental financing district, which would take the taxes that would have been paid into the school district, to the county, and it will keep it in a fund that can be used in the general area in and around it, but it is only applying to the land that has been acquired and the land currently occupied by the Volkswagen dealership.
Secondly, would the proposal allow for development of the roadway before the tax dollars are completely collected?
I'm sorry, ask that question again.
Would the proposal provide for development of this roadway connecting to 741 before all the monies are collected?
The township would have the opportunity to complete the road at any time through its own resolution.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other public comments? All right, seeing none, we will close the public comments period.
I'll make a motion we approve resolution number 070-2018, a resolution to declare the improvement to certain parcels of real property be a public purpose and exempt from taxation, requiring the owners of the parcels to make service payments in lieu of taxes, and specifying the public infrastructure improvements to be made that directly benefit the parcel. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees, Miami Township, Montgomery County of Ohio, sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris,
Aye.
Mr. Barry,
Aye.
Mr. Culp,
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 071-2018, a resolution to declare it necessary to renew a tax levy in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the fire department. Therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Trustees of Miami Township, Montgomery County, Ohio, 2/3 of all members elected thereto concurring that it is necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the benefit of the unincorporated area of Miami Township, Montgomery County, Ohio, for the purpose of paragraph 1, section 5705.19 of the Ohio Revised Code, for providing and maintaining fire apparatus, mechanical resuscitators, underwater rescue and recovery equipment, or other fire equipment and appliances, buildings, sites, therefore, and maintenance in liens of firearm communications for the payment of firefighting companies or permanent, part-time, or volunteer firefighting, emergency medical service, administrative, or communications personnel to operate the same, including the payment of any employer contributions required for such personnel under Sections 145.48 or 742.34 of the revised code, for the purchase of ambulance equipment, for the provision of ambulance, paramedic, or other emergency medical services operated by a fire department or firefighting company, or for the payment of other related costs at a rate not exceeding 3.5 mils for each $1 evaluation, which amounts to 35 cents for every $100 evaluation for 5 years, and which is a renewal of an existing levy of 3.5 mils commencing in 2018, first due in calendar 19. And be it further resolved, said levy will be placed upon the tax list to be collected in the calendar year of 2019 if a majority of the electors voting in the November 6, 2018 general election therefore vote in favor of. And be it further resolved, the fiscal officer of the Board of Trustees be and is hereby directed to certify a copy of this resolution to the Board of Elections, Montgomery County, not less than 90 days before the November 6, 2018 general election, upon which it will be voted, and notify the Board of Elections to cause the notice of election of the question levy said tax be given be required by law.
Second the motion.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment on this renewal for the fire district. We're currently running the fire district on a 2006 budget, not 2018. This is the same, the amount of money that we're spending on the fire district now is what we spent in 2006. And this will keep us funding that at that same level. So we combine this, the Miami Township and the Miamisburg Fire Departments. It's been a little bit over 5 years ago, and it's actually saved us from having to go out for new money in the past, and it's continuing to save us money. So I just wanted to make the folks aware of that.
Any other comments or discussion?
Mr. Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Berry?
Aye.
Mr. Culp?
Aye. Make a motion to approve Resolution 0722018, resolution to declare it necessary to renew a tax levy in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the police department, whereas the amount of taxes which may be raised within the 10 mil limitation will be insufficient to provide an adequate amount for the necessary requirements of said Miami Township, Montgomery County, Ohio, and therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Miami Township, Montgomery County, Ohio, 2/3 of all members elected thereto, concurring that it is necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the benefit of the unincorporated area of Miami Township, Montgomery County, Ohio, for the purpose of paragraph J, section 570519 ORC, providing and maintaining motor vehicles, communications, and other equipment used directly in the operation of the police department, or the payment of salaries of permanent police personnel, or the payment of costs incurred by the township as a result of contracts made with other political subdivisions in order to obtain police protection at a rate not exceeding 5.25 mils for each $1 valuation, which amounts to 0.525 cents for each $100 evaluation for 5 years, and which is a renewal of an existing levy of 5.25 mils commencing in 2018, first due in calendar 2019. And be it further resolved, said levy be placed upon the tax list to be collected in the calendar year of 2019 if a majority of the electors voting in the November 6, 2018 general election thereon vote in favor thereof. And be it further resolved, the fiscal officer of this Board of Trustees be and is hereby directed to certify a copy of this resolution to the Board of Elections in Montgomery County not less than 90 days before the November 6, 2018 general election upon which it will be voted, and notified said Board of Elections to cause notice of election on the question of levying said tax to be given as required by law.
I'll second. Any discussion?
No, sir.
Mr. Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Berry?
Aye.
Mr. Culp?
Aye.
All right, we are now moving into the part of the agenda to have our public hearings. I will make a motion to open up public hearing for zoning case 411-12.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Berry?
Aye.
Mr. Culp?
Aye.
Zoning case number 411-12 is now open. The following will be the order in which the hearing will proceed. Staff will give a report. The applicant will give a presentation. All proponents will be able to speak. All opponents will be given to speak. A time limit of 3 minutes will be placed on each of the speakers as proponents or opponents. The way this will work is, Mr. Hinkleman, we don't have a clock. If someone addresses during a zoning commission meeting, Mr. Hinkleman will give you notice when you've reached your 3-minute limit. Please give your name and address for the record. The board will then close the public hearing prior to taking any final action. The board will now hear report of staff. Mr. Hinkleman, have the legal requirements for this hearing been met?
They have.
Do you have a recommendation from the zoning commission, and would you please review your report at this time?
I do. Thank you very much. The case before you this evening is ZC 411-12, major modification to the final development plan for the Wynn Wholesale Plan Development. The case before you is a request to approve a modification to the existing final development plan to add additional truck parking. If you're not familiar, the Wynn Wholesale or Wynn Supply development is located on the east side of Byers Road, just to the west of I-75. The location that is being proposed for the additional lot truck parking location is at the entranceway, just off the roadway. As you can see in the blow up to the right, you can see right as you go in, the building is in front of you and the proposed parking location is on the right. As part of that, the applicant is also requesting to construct a retaining wall that is 6 feet at the tallest point to deal with the grading that is fairly substantial in that location. The applicant has also, through the zoning commission process, worked to put landscaping to block the proposed additional 8 parking location lot. Again, the retaining wall material is there before you in your packets, and the applicant did get a recommendation of approval in a 5-0 vote at the June 19th meeting, where the zoning commission stated, the zoning commission finds the proposed major modification to the final development plan for the Wynn Wholesale Plan Development complies with the standards of Article 31, Section 3104, and recommend to the Board of Trustees approval of zoning case 411-12 and for land zone PD5 Plan Mixed Use District with the following stipulations. 1. 36-inch shrubs are planted along the entire length of parking between the parking spaces and the roadway. If you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to address them. I believe there is a representative of the applicant here as well, and if you have any questions of them, I'm sure they'd be able to address those.
No questions.
Thank you very much.
The board will now hear from the applicant. The board will now hear from any proponents. Seeing none, the board will now hear from any opponents. Seeing none, I will make a motion to close the public hearing for zoning case 411-12.
Second?
Any discussion?
No, sir.
Mr. Morse.
Aye.
Mr. Barry.
Aye.
Mr. Culp.
Aye.
I make a motion we approve resolution number 073-2018, a resolution to adopt a major modification of the final development plan for Wynn Wholesale under zoning case number 411-12 for land zone PD5 Plan Mixed Use. Therefore, be it resolved, the Miami Township Board of Trustees approves the major modification of the final development plan under zoning case number 411-12 and upholds the zoning commission recommendation.
I'll second. Discussion.
No, sir.
Mr. Morse.
Aye.
Mr. Barry.
Aye.
Mr. Culp.
Aye.
I will make a motion to open public hearing for zoning case 413-13.
Second?
Any discussion?
Mr. Morse.
Aye.
Mr. Barry.
Aye.
Mr. Culp.
Aye.
Zoning case 413-13 is now open. The following will be the order in which the hearing will proceed. Staff will give a report. The applicant will give a presentation. All proponents will be given a chance to speak. Opponents will be given a chance to speak. A time limit of 3 minutes will be placed on each of the speakers. Please give your name and address for the board. The board will close the public hearing prior to taking any final action. The board will now hear the report of the staff. Mr. Hinkleman, have the legal requirements from this hearing been met?
They have.
Do you have a recommendation from the Miami Township Zoning Commission, and would you please review your report at this time?
I do. Thank you very much. The case before you this evening is ZC 41313, a final development plan for Dayton Christian Schools Plan Development. The case was heard in the June 19th Zoning Commission meeting, and there is a recommendation which I will read into the record at the end of my report. The Dayton Christian Schools location is located on Washington Church Road. This request, as you will remember, a month prior, the applicant came forward and requested a modification to their preliminary plan to move the location of the gymnasium to this proposed location at the center, at the heart of their development. Now the applicant is coming back and asking for final development approval of that structure. Again, just to kind of touch on what is there today, they are asking to basically add an addition to Building F and have that serve as their gymnasium. They are phasing that with a potential second phase, but as of now, they are asking for the specific gymnasium as shown within the packet that you have before you. As you can see, they are also adding landscaping in a location that currently does not have landscaping. And you can see in the elevations, their proposed elevations, they are using an ephes material. With that said, they are looking to match exactly the brick that they have on the buildings. They are looking to use a material that is stamped, and from a distance, you would not be able to tell the difference between proposed ephes material and the existing masonry and brick material on other buildings within the development. Again, this is another aerial photo to just show you the massing of the gymnasium, that it is not a one-story building, but really a two-story, a 1.5-story building. And as you can see, again, they have provided elevations to show you the height. With that, the Zoning Commission did recommend approval in a 5-0 vote at the June 19th Zoning Commission meeting, and their recommendation states the Zoning Commission finds the proposed final development plan for the Dayton Christian Plan Development complies with the standards of Article 31, Section 3104, and recommend to the Board of Trustees approval of Zoning Case 41313 and for Land Zone PD5 Planned Mixed Use District. With that, if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to address them. I am certain there are representatives for the applicant here if you have any questions of them.
Any questions?
Nope.
No questions.
Thank you very much.
If the applicant would like to present. The board will now hear from any proponents. The board will now hear from any opponents. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close public hearing for zoning case 413-13.
Second?
Any discussion?
No, sir.
Mr. Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Berry?
Aye.
Mr. Culp?
Aye. Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 075-2018, resolution to adopt a major modification to the final development plan for the exchange. I've got the wrong one.
I got it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion we approve resolution number 074-2018, a resolution to adopt a final development plan for Dayton Christian Schools under zoning case 413-13 for land zone PD5 plan mixed use. Therefore, be it resolved, the Miami Township Board of Trustees approves the final development plan under zoning case number 413-13 and upholds the zoning commission recommendation.
Second. Any discussion?
Mr. Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Berry?
Aye.
Mr. Culp?
Aye.
I will now make a motion to open public hearing for zoning case 374-015.
Second?
Any discussion?
No, sir.
Mr. Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Berry?
Aye.
Mr. Culp?
Aye.
Zoning case number 374-015 is now open. The following will be the order in which the hearing will proceed. Staff will give a report. Applicant will give a presentation. Proponents will speak. Opponents will speak. A time limit of 3 minutes will be placed on each of the speakers. please give your name and address for the record. The board will close the public hearing prior to taking any final action. Mr. Hinkleman, have the legal requirements for this hearing been met?
They have.
Do you have a recommendation from the Miami Township Zoning Commission, and would you please review your report at this time?
I do. Thank you very much. The case before you this evening is ZC 374-05, a major modification to the Exchange at Spring Valley Plan Development, Area 1, Roosters. This location, if you are not familiar, was the previous location of a different restaurant user. Roosters has purchased this location and is now making modifications to join the Miami Township community. The application that is before you, the applicant is requesting to make modifications to the building to change the entryway from facing 741 to facing the parking lot, as well as adding a cooler area to the back of house to allow them to serve their customers in a different way from the previous restaurant user. The applicant is not requesting any changes to landscaping, lighting, or parking requirements on the site. They are also not changing any impervious surface numbers for the site, so there are no requirements to see any of those be modified. The applicant has provided a material board that includes similar materials to the existing building. The previous owner of the building did make modifications to the building without approval, and the applicant is going through the process to change the building to the design that they would like through this process, again, which is colors, materials, and lighting on the building. You will also note the applicant has provided elevations for those two, again, additions. They are not making any changes to the other three elevations other than the elevation that faces 741. The doorway will be being removed and the awnings will be replaced. So as you can see here on the south elevation, that is the primary elevation that is seeing modification. You will see there is an additional bump out for the entryway as well as for the cooler. And then if you look at the west elevation, you will see that there is no longer an access door, but there are now awnings and a window in the location of the previous access. I will note briefly that the Zoning Commission, as we went through this process, did have discussion with the applicant over signage, proposed signage on the building. And as you can see, the applicant was asking for a number of signs. The Zoning Commission did have a discussion with the applicant about the amount of signage. And after that discussion, the applicant did come back prior to this meeting with an updated sign package, which does meet the staff's request and the Zoning Commission's notes, which you will see as I read the recommendation. Again, the Zoning Commission did hear this case in the June 19th meeting and recommended approval in a 5-0 vote. And their recommendation stated, the Zoning Commission finds the proposed major modification to the final development plan for the Exchange at Spring Valley Plan Development complies with the standards of Article 31, Section 3104, and recommends to the Board of Trustees approval of zoning case 374-05 and for Land Zone PD5 Plan Mixed Use District with the following stipulations. 1. The applicant will be permitted 100 square feet of single signage on 3 sides of the building, provided that one sign provides a feature that includes the terminology Miami Township and that staff has the final approval rights of this sign. And 2, the applicant has agreed to return the building colors to the original colors of red and tan. With that, if there are any questions that you have of me, I'd be happy to address them. The applicant is also here and can certainly speak to any questions that you have of him.
Any questions?
No, sir. Thank you very much.
The board will now have a chance to hear from the applicant. Now, board will now hear from any proponents. The board will hear from any opponents. I will make a motion to close public hearing for zoning case 374-05.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll make,
Mr.
go ahead.
Mr. Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Berry?
Aye.
Mr. Culp?
Aye. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 075-2018, resolution to adopt a major modification to the final development plan for the exchange at Spring Valley, Area 1, Roosters, under zoning case number 374-05 for land zone PD5 planned mixed use. Whereas the Miami Township Board of Trustees met in regular session on Tuesday, July 10th, 2018, therefore be it resolved, Miami Township Board of Trustees approve the major modification to the final development plan under zoning case number 374-05 and supported the zoning commission, upheld the zoning commission recommendation.
Second?
Any discussion?
No, sir.
Mr. Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Berry?
Aye.
Mr. Culp?
Aye.
Well, I'm not sure why everyone is here tonight. I thought they were all here because they wanted
I
to
don't think this
approve
one's
the
gonna go as fast as
Roosters.
the first three.
I thought everyone here was excited about Roosters coming to Miami Township like I am, and they were here to speak in favor of their signage package. So I don't know, well, guys,
We're about done, aren't we?
I guess. Is there anything else on the agenda? Oh, I guess I will make a motion to open public hearing for zoning case 393-07.
Second?
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Berry?
Aye.
Mr. Culp?
Aye.
Zoning case 393-07 is now open. The following will be the order in which this hearing will proceed. Staff will give a report. Applicant will give a presentation. All proponents will speak. All opponents will speak. A time limit of 3 minutes will be placed on each of the speakers. Please give your name and address for the record. The board will close the public hearing prior to taking any final action. The board will now hear the report of the staff. Mr. Hinkleman, have the legal requirements for this hearing been met?
They have.
Do you have a recommendation from the Miami Township Zoning Commission, and would you please review your report at this time?
Thank you. I do. The case before you this evening is ZC 393-07, a major modification to the preliminary development plan for Rivendell. This case was originally heard by the Zoning Commission in May 15th of this year, which there is a Zoning Commission recommendation, which I will read into the record at the end of my report. This case has been continued since that time. Originally, it was to be heard in May, and then last month, and it is now being heard tonight. With that said, the Rivendell case, as many of you are aware, this is a request to modify an existing approval for a residential development in Miami Township. It is a 30-acre location that is just to the east of 741. The 31 acres, the request on that 31 acres is to allow 82 single-family homes within 3 phases and connecting to 2 public roadways. The original approval, which currently exists today, that approval allowed for 88 lots with different front, rear, and side yard setbacks. And you can see the applicant is requesting 82 lots with different front, rear, and side yard setbacks from the original approval. I will also note the original approval was for a different design. It was for landominiums. The approval that is being requested this evening is for single-family homes detached. Again, as I noted, the applicant is proposing to develop this site in 3 phases, the first of which would begin in March of 2019, the second of which would be the year following, and the third of which would be the year following that. The applicant does have requirements from the Miami Valley Fire District to have both roadways service the development within phase 1. It is shown that they would put in the roadway that connects to Rosecliff, but some sort of service access, if not the entire roadway, would need to be constructed as part of phase 1 to accommodate the 2 access point requirement from Miami Valley Fire District. And again, as I note on this drawing is not facing north. North is actually to the right of the photo. So you can see the access points that are being requested are on Rosecliff and Fox Run. Again, the request that is being made is for 82 lots with 27 in the first and the second, and then 28 lots in the third phase. So that's how it breaks down. They are also proposing 3 wet ponds. They are proposing 4 public roads: Rivendell Circle, Rosecliff, continuation until it stubs, Fox Run, a continuation until it ends, and then Alderon Avenue, which is the center road in the development. They are proposing lot sizes that on average are around 0.2 to 0.25 acres, and again, on average, about 75 feet of frontage. All lots would have 25 front, 25 rear, and 6 side yard setback limitations. I will note that the access points in the development, again, are Rosecliff and Fox Run, as well as previously, and as I will discuss in a moment, a future potential access road to the west, which is on the top of this drawing, but that is to the west of the actual development. As part of this process, the Zoning Commission has reviewed the construction traffic as well as the development traffic generation. The traffic discussion has been one that has gone on throughout the entire discussion of this proposal, and I will touch on that here in a moment. The Miami Valley Fire District also provided comments, as I noted previously, that there would need to be 2 access points to provide access for this development. Again, I note that the trip generation and construction traffic counts were provided by the applicant to be reviewed as a township. As you are aware, our engineer is Montgomery County Engineer's Office, and they did review those traffic counts and the trip generation estimated by the development. They do believe that the increased traffic around the development based on the number of homes being provided, they believe the roadways are adequate to accommodate the additional traffic, and due to the number of homes being provided, that no traffic impact study would be required. The Montgomery County Engineer's Office would require a traffic impact study if a certain number of homes, which I believe to be 100 or more, are requested. And again, in this case, the applicant is requesting 82. As part of the evolution of the discussion on traffic, staff also pulled together other locations and asked the engineer's office to provide other locations that are similar in traffic counts to the location that is being requested. And the locations that the county has provided to us are Lehigh in the east and west of Lamb, as well as Cordell. Those 2 locations kind of can give you some context to the traffic that exists similar on Silver Cliff. Another comparison that staff provided, just so you can understand, are other developments within Miami Township that have similar number of homes and provide access in and out of those developments. So Keystone Club is a 81 lot subdivision with a 29-foot road width, which is similar to the proposed development, and it has 1 access road that comes in and out. I will note that on the back side of that development, there is a fire access road that goes to nowhere, but someday it would connect to a future development on that lot. Obviously, that was approved prior to the 2 access point requirement that exists today. But again, just to show you, there are other locations that do have similar traffic counts and have 1 access point. Another location that's very close to this development is the subdivision that is just to the south of the proposed development, which really includes Bellsburg Drive. If you've been down this area, there are a number of roads within that development. There's actually 101 single-family lots with a 27-foot roadway, so a little slimmer. And again, they have 1 single access point that goes into Mohawk Trail Road. To touch on a couple other items that the applicant has provided, as you can see before you in green, I have highlighted the landscaping open space areas of the development. As part of a planned development, requirements for buffer areas between other developments exist. in our standards. So those buffer areas, in this case, the applicant is proposing 35 feet on the north side and 25 feet on the other locations. They are also, again, showing those 3 detention basins, which, as the area around it is not being developed, that is considered part of open space. And then there is what in essence is a river, but it's a stream per the standards. The area holds water, and that is the larger green area that you see on the south side of the site that is being kept due to a pond going in, as well as other mitigation issues with that area. You'll also see on the north side, just where Rose Cliff dead ends into the development, a 0.35 acre shared open space where the applicant has proposed placing a gazebo. Another discussion point to touch on is the elevations being proposed. The applicant is Zengel Construction, but the elevations are being proposed by Ryan Homes. Those homes model designs are the 6 that are before you. Staff reviewed all of those elevations and those models in different locations throughout the Miami Valley, and the square footages do vary depending on which model it is, but roughly those numbers exist as you can see them before you, with 2 of them, the Pisa Torre at 1400 and the Aviano at 1566, being the lower of the 2, and then the other 4 are roughly around 2,000 or 2,000 plus square feet. Again, as some of the continuing dialogue with this development, the development standards which go with the modification, so the site plan is one part of it. The second part of that is the development standards. Those standards qualify or regulate the different types of development that can occur. As one of those items that has been discussed at length is the building materials. The recommended development standards that you see within your packets do have a requirement for the building materials in the development to be 80% brick or stone. What that means is that the entire building would have to be 80%, so the applicant would then be given flexibility to have one elevation potentially be 40% and the other 3 be 100% if the math can work in terms of how big those facades and elevations are. There also is a minimum development or a minimum square footage requirement within the development standards. The Zoning Commission did stay with the existing recommendation of 1,400 square feet. At the Zoning Commission meeting, staff did recommend 1,700 square feet, but the Zoning Commission did, within the recommendation you will find, stay with the 1,400 square feet that was originally proposed. Again, just to touch on the square footage of where staff came up with the 1,700 square feet, the average home size based on the 12 homes that are in Montgomery County's data on Mohawk Trail adjacent to the proposed development, their average size is about 2,500 square feet. So we actually recommended 1,700 square feet, which is clearly less than that. But all the homes on Mohawk, or a substantial number of homes on Mohawk, that are in that 12 are actually 2-story homes. The applicant is proposing single-story development. So staff took the number that would be allowed in a regular R2, added that to the average number of homes, which you would get 1,900 square feet, and then gave the benefit of the doubt for it being a single-story, and that's where that 1,700 came from. That did, 1,700 square feet, as you saw before, would have limited 2 of the models that are being proposed out, which would leave the applicant only with 4 models that could meet that number. And again, the Zoning Commission is recommending 1,400 square feet, which would allow for all 6 of those models to be part of the approval. The fourth and final overall kind of concept that we've walked throughout this process deals with drainage and stormwater. The applicant has provided pre- and post-development stormwater calculations. These are very rough. At the preliminary development plan stage, The applicant does not have to meet the Montgomery County stormwater requirements at this time. The final development plan stage, they would. With that said, staff did get Montgomery County Engineers Office to do a cursory review, and they did believe that the plan that was presented was reasonable, and that with that said, they did believe, though, that on the on the east side of the site, where a substantial amount of discussion was done to try to save trees, they did state it was very unlikely that trees would be able to be saved in that location due to a stormwater drain likely having to go in that location, and due to that, that trees and buffer in that location likely would not be able to be saved. So again, at the final development plan, if this were to be approved this evening, when the final development plan came forward, the applicant would have to provide engineered numbers as to where those pipes are going to be, and then a landscape plan would have to be created to accommodate the location of underground water. Just for a note, I will state that staff did provide the Zoning Commission with alternative options for different portions of the site to allow the site to meet different considerations that have occurred through the Zoning Commission and the Board of Trustees in the past. Just to note a couple of those locations, the staff alternative preserves the prime open spaces on the site, which are the south side and the northeast side. Whereas you can see in that, it's a little tough to see, but if you squint really hard, you can see there's a large tree stand on the south side, and then a smaller but somewhat heavy tree stand on the northeast side. So the proposal reduces the number of lots to save those areas. As you can see, the trees, there are some trees that are not worth keeping. But there are a substantial number of trees that clearly are not ash trees and would be a benefit or an amenity to anyone who would live in that area. You will also see staff recommended that trails be put in, again, to allow an amenity to be part of the development to continue providing additional amenities to residents of the township. And again, as I noted previously, staff also recommended, or the staff alternative showed removing that lot to the west to allow a future access point, and the Zoning Commission recommendation you will see reflects that change. So to close all of that information, just to kind of gather it together here, the applicant is requesting to make a modification to a plan development. That plan development was originally approved in 2007. That plan development moved from an R2 district, which was a standard residential district in Miami Township. Properties in general are zoned into plan developments for flexibility or creativity in development. So the general standards cannot be met, or something additional wants to be added on, and there is a negotiation or an agreement between parties that allows the developer to do more with their site or do it differently. Again, when it was created in 2007, the discussion really revolved around the landominium concept, which was creating a lot that would be maintained by a shared ownership, and then having someone live in a house that is different than what a residential or a standard R district would allow in the township, where we would have property ownership with boundary lines. So it allowed flexibility in that. In the case that you're seeing this evening, the applicant is requesting what in essence is roughly 22 additional lots from what would be permitted in a standard R2 district. The township, though, is gaining the ability to regulate the materials and the open space and the models of the homes. So if you are to look kind of at what an R2 would allow and what a plan development, the PD1 that's being proposed this evening, would allow, you will see that there are many things that are different. So if it was an R2, they'd be permitted 60 to 66 lots. It's hard for me to put a number on that, primarily due to because the roadways could be moved or shifted and allow additional lots. But with the width of the development in general, 90-foot frontage, that's a general number that you could go with. Again, the applicant is requesting 82, which is actually 81 if you subtract the lot that is to the west. But again, they're asking for roughly 75 to 80 foot of frontage, so that is less. And then you'll notice as well the setbacks are reduced. They're asking for a 1,400 square foot minimum square footage, which is 50 square feet greater than what it would be in a standard R2 district. You'll also notice that stormwater detention would be the same. There would be no difference whether that's an R2 or whether that's a planned development. The standards for the water detention and the ponds would be the same. So there'd be no difference there. The access points, those two access points on on Rosecliff and on Fox Run, those would be the same. Those two access points are required by the Miami Valley Fire District and would have to exist in some form or fashion. So in terms of the roadway impact, though, in an R2 district, there is no review. An applicant would be able to build a public roadway, dedicate that roadway as long as they met our standards, and there would be no review. In a planned development, though, it is reviewed by the Montgomery County Engineer's Office. That review, obviously, as you saw, deals with the overall traffic counts, the impact on roadways, and other factors that are involved. Building materials, as I noted before, if it was a straight R2 district, would have no regulation. So our current code does not regulate the type of materials that are constructed or used for a home in an R2 district. Obviously, in the plan development that's being proposed, there's an 80% brick total for the entire building. So there is a substantial regulation going in for the building. And then again, I just note signage at the end. For these subdivisions similar to this, if it was a straight residential district, there would be no ability to have a shared sign. So you couldn't have your entrance sign as you do in a planned development, which allows for that shared signage. Again, I note staff provided a plan and the applicant has provided a plan. And I know I've gone through a fair bit quickly. My intention, obviously, was to cover everything that we've discussed previously. If there is anything specifically on any of those topics that you'd like to discuss, I certainly can go further into it. But first, I'd like to read the Zoning Commission recommendation into the record, which the Zoning Commission did hear this case in the May 15th meeting and did recommend approval in a 4-0 vote. And that recommendation stated, the Zoning Commission finds the proposed major modification to the preliminary development plan complies with the standards of Article 31, Section 3104, and recommend approval of zoning case 393-07, a major modification to the preliminary development plan for the Rivendell planned unit development and for land zone PD1 planned residential district with the following stipulations. 1. The development standards dated May 15th, 2018 be adopted as part of the approved and revised standards for the development with the following considerations. A. The minimum square footage should be set at 1,400 square feet. B. Include the spring manor elevation. C. The maximum number of lots will be at 81 with the understanding that lot 21 will be left undeveloped to allow for a future potential access point. And 2. The plans meet all Miami Valley Fire District requirements and Montgomery County and Miami Township stormwater requirements. So with that, I know I said quite a bit. I covered a number of topics quickly, but I'm more than happy to go back through any of those specific items that you would like. The applicant is also here and can certainly speak to any questions that you may have of him.
Can you go through that again?
The case before you is zoning case.
No. Easy. So basically, this was approved in '07 as an R2 district.
No. In '07, it was rezoned,
Rezoned
from
as
an
an R-
R2 district into a PD1 planned residential district.
So they could build it as an R2 district as it sits now.
No.
No.
They could build it as a planned development PD1 with the approved plan, which the approved plan
Is
this plan to the left,
yes.
which has 88 homes that are land dominiums and one access point.
Okay. So that is what has been approved.
Correct. Now, again, they've not been approved for a final development plan.
Correct.
So,
And that is not what we are approving. That is
Correct.
not what we are talking about this evening is a final development plan. It is a preliminary.
correct. The applicant would have to come forward with a final development plan to
Correct.
meet that preliminary plan, which I cannot answer if they could
Correct.
with the current standards.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question regarding the drainage issue. As it was presented, this is again subject to Montgomery County coming in and doing a full environmental study and then stating how the storm system will be functional?
No. So as part of the approval, they would have to submit to Montgomery County their stormwater calculations. As part of that, that would include their environmental, their water quality, their water quantity. That's how their basins get decided where they're located. At that time, it would have to be engineered. As of today, it has to be generally engineered, not completely engineered as it would at that time. So the county doesn't actually come in and provide that service. They would provide the service, and the county would either approve or deny, and then give comments or changes that are necessary.
Approve, deny, modify,
Right.
give recommendations,
Correct.
all of that.
Yes.
I have a question. Does this plan not also call for the applicant to maintain a minimum of 2-car garages on each and at least adequate parking on each driveway?
So as part of the discussion throughout this, all of their elevations do show 2-car garages. Early on, there was a lot of concern about the width of the road and the ability to have enough parking. The plan that is before you does show a 25-foot front yard setback, whereas the previous plan showed a 20-foot front yard setback, which would not have allowed potentially 2 cars to park. The 25-foot front yard setback potentially allows people to park 2 cars in their driveway, again, potentially keeping those cars off the road. As it is in the township, we do not have a requirement that they could not park on the road.
Any other questions for Mr. Hinkleman? All right,
very much.
thank you, sir. The applicant will now be given an opportunity to give a presentation.
Good evening. My name is Jim Zengel. I'm president of Zengel Construction Company and making this presentation to you this evening as the developer. I'm going to kind of go through, hit some of the points that Kyle did, make some comments on some of them that he did, but try to touch the same things he did. It's in a little different order, so if I'm be available to answer questions during or after, however you kind of want to move about it. But Kyle has suggested a few changes, and I'll address those as I move forward. But we feel that we've been through the zoning committee twice. The one time it was denied by the trustees, but we've been through twice with the zoning commission. We received unanimous approval both times. The density we feel is compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods and a good use of the existing property. As Kyle mentioned, in 2017, the county engineer's office confirmed that both Rosecliff, Silvercliff, Pine Grove, Fox Run, all of those streets as built today can accommodate the additional traffic likely generated from the Rivendell development. The traffic analysis also determined that these roads can handle the AM and PM peak traffic that happens during morning rush hour and evening as everybody returns. I've spoken with the county engineer and their staff, and they see no reason why this 2017 study should be any different today or make any changes. Traffic, street width, design. Kyle had, I think you only presented one of your options this time, didn't you? So there was you had 2 options, one with cul-de-sacs and different things. Okay, so I won't comment. Street widths are all going to be the 29-foot current Montgomery County standard. All will have sidewalks on both sides. Each home will have the capability of holding 4 cars, 2 in the garage and 2 on the driveways he just stated. One of the comments we're going to hear is the parking on Silver Cliff and whatever, but most of those homes have a single-car garage and space for maybe 1 car on the driveway. And many of those homes, not all of them, but a majority of them are used for additional storage, or they've been converted to living space. So this will be different than that. Just kind of streets in the area, Mohawk Trail and Fox Run are 27-foot wide streets currently. Rosecliff is 29 feet. Pine Grove, Silver Cliff, the other streets in the subdivision north of anything in Vienna Park are 30-foot wide. Construction traffic, we're still working on, I guess, that. What we would propose to do, it would be with your permission, since we don't own the Vienna Parkway gravel road access anymore, but is to bring all the traffic through Vienna Parkway, down Vienna Parkway, and then turn onto Rose Cliff and bring the traffic in that direction there. We will we'll access the road before we start construction, and if it's determined that our construction traffic created some issues, we will repair the road accordingly. We were working with the others, owner of the property, the Miller, the Chamberlain farm there, and but since we don't own the Vienna Center property anymore, we can't really negotiate to try to create some kind of access through there. So,
Kyle, could you pull that picture up again, the large overhead that shows the, keep going. Keep going. That shows the Miller property.
you just passed it
Right there.
That's
So this is maybe hard for those in the audience to see, but this traffic study picture has a good picture. So the property that's just been acquired by the township at the end of Vienna Parkway is in Miami Township. The property that we're talking about now for this proposed development is in Miami Township. All the rest of that large green square, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, is in the city of Miamisburg. And that is owned by the former Chamberlain farm, now owned by the Millers. So one of the things that has been discussed is this opportunity, and Mr. Zengel just presented it, about potentially bringing in construction traffic off of the newly acquired Vienna Center property that the township now owns and bringing it through the Chamberlain farm. Until we acquired the property, we couldn't negotiate with the Millers. The Zengels did not come forward with a firm plan, but it would be our intent, if possible, to negotiate with the Millers, and it would be your intent as the developer to route construction traffic, should we create a route through the Miller property, through that empty lot in the plan?
If something could fit together, yes, we can work through that.
Okay, thank you.
If, regardless of where we come into the development, there's some working hour requirements that we will meet. We'll keep all the equipment on the new development as much as we possibly can for storage of trailers and that type of material. I can say from experience in our own position of having Ryan buy lots from us that they're keeping streets clean and maintained, and traffic, mud, and what have you is exceptional. They really do a good job from the construction access standpoint. Detention basins, Kyle showed you one option of moving the detention basin to the north, to the west, to try to save some of those trees. I've worked with my engineer, who's pretty much done we pretty much have done, 50 to 60% of the design work, maybe closer to 80% of the design work. There's no way we can locate that second pond in that location because of the grading. The water has to go downhill, and it's not in the proper location to make that work. We're required to make it all fit together to have those two ponds on each side of our entrance road. I think you can look back at what was approved in 2007 with the 88 lots. Unfortunately, we can't do that anymore. If we want to do anything, we would love to do that. If we could do that, this discussion would have been over a long time ago. But the township has changed their rules and requirements on fire access, and we have to have the secondary access, and there's just no way to make it work. As you saw, there is another subdivision that has a very similar type of thing. Actually, two, if you compare Bellsburg, and then I can't remember the name of the other one, but similar access that seemed to work. Wet or dry pond. Our ponds originally were dry, but once again, the rules and regulations have changed. It's much better to have wet ponds today because of the water quality requirements that the county is doing to improve the water that gets into our streams and rivers and creeks. The wet ponds allow the sediment to drain to the bottom, whereas before it would just keep going right on through the way they were designed. They will have a bubbler, some type of feature in there to move air, to bubble, put air in there to keep them from getting stagnant and what have you.
Those would be maintained by the homeowners association?
Those will be maintained by the homeowners association. My engineer kind of estimates before these requirements came in, about 75% of the ponds were dry and 25% wet. It's almost completely reversed now. They're 25% are dry and 75% are wet. And I think something, even our dry ponds that we put today, water is required to sit in those ponds for 48 hours to let the sediments drain out of there before it drains out of there. And when you do that, those ponds will virtually always be full of water, especially in the weather we've had the last couple of weeks. They're going to stay wetter, they're going to stay muddy, they're going to promote more of the bad things that people don't want by using a dry pond. Drainage design, we talked about on the east side of it, there are two existing drain lines that we put in along Mohawk Trail Road. Originally, we thought we could not use those because of the new drainage requirements, but I did talk with the county engineer, and they see no reason why we couldn't tap into those two lines. They're on two lots that we built on Mohawk Trail Road. One of them is right at the end of Old Vienna Drive, and the other one's about halfway down the property there. By utilizing those two drains in that area that Kyle was referred to before as unmanaged drainage area, we feel we can drain those areas and probably reduce the amount of trees that we would need to take out if we were creating a big swale or anything like that. Once again, as the engineers design things, we're going to be able to find those things, but we need approval to be able to move forward to start to design these things. If we have to make some changes, we can, to do whatever we need to do. Density, we believe the density is compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods. The density along Mohawk Trail Road is around 2.1 to 2.2 units per acre. Vienna Estates there's two sections. One is 7.8 and one is 5.1. Rivendell with the 88 lots or 81 lots, we're going to be about 2.5, somewhere in that neighborhood. Those numbers could be off just a little bit, but
Mr. Zengel, do you or maybe the folks from Ryan Homes have any guesstimate based on prior developments? There's been some speculation on, okay, the zoning commission set the minimum at 1,400, so all these houses are going to be 1,400. What do you think the mix of this final development will be, and is there any reason why Ryan would rather build a 1,400 square foot home than a 2,000 square foot home?
do you want to do that now, or you want to do it?
I've got some notes, and that's one of the things I'd like to address, if I could, after his presentation. Or
Sure.
I can do it now, whatever the trustees would prefer.
That would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Building materials, we talked about the 80% brick. Trees, vegetation, the corner on the northeast portion that Kyle wanted to try to save, a lot of those are ash trees. I've taken out 5, 6, 7 of them in the last couple of years. But as with all the trees, vegetation in there, part of the requirement of this plan development is we are going to do a tree study. That'll be that study will be presented at the final development. Everyone will have a chance to look at it, decide what we can do to minimize if, I'm not sure what we will have to do. We need to get that tree study done, review it. Staff will review it, we'll review it, and we'll come up with an answer on all the trees at that time. A lot of that material is in there is honeysuckle, which it's an invasive species. I just saw the city just clear out a complete park in Centerville and wiped out, or it's the park district there, wiped out and took all the ground cover because it was all honeysuckle. Trails that were mentioned, we're not opposed to any trails or those type of things, but, and Mark might address this also, but we are addressing this as an empty nester type of market, age targeted, he might refer to it as. If we determine that a lot of people want some kind of trail, we'll put a trail in there. But if it's a trail, if it's something we put in and nobody uses, it's just an added maintenance cost to the people in the subdivision. I'd like to just point out that the buffer zones, in Kyle's presentation, he talked about the setbacks of all different lines. But the buffer zones add another 25 feet to those setbacks. So let's say the houses that their backs will face Mohawk Trail Road, they're going to have a 25-foot setback plus a 25-foot buffer zone requirement in there, which is 50 feet. The homes that we built on Mohawk Trail Road have a 40-foot setback in there. So it's going to be more space than what the current houses have. And the original design didn't have any buffer zones or that was to build into it. Closing, we're just asking for your support of Phase 1 of Rivendell to allow us to move forward for the final design. Our family has been developing ground for over 70 years. We've participated in hundreds of these meetings. And whether we were asking for single-family homes, apartments, medical buildings, office space, whatever, detached and attached patio homes, there's been opposition to everything that we've done. And unfortunately, because we were the only developer in these plats, the same people that thought we were doing a great job were always the ones probably opposing what we were proposing to do different things in the future. But everybody seems to agree that where they live, it's a great place to live, but there's always this opposition. I think to kind of bring some of that home, in 1946, my grandfather proposed a platted subdivision in the city of Centerville, coming off Route 48 on Brad Street. It was the first subdivision with sewer and water lines in the streets. Nothing in Centerville had that at the time. There wasn't even sanitary sewer to that point. We put it in with the idea that they were going to connect to it in the future. But people opposed us because we were going to ruin the character of the city of Centerville. Virtually everything that we've done, we were going to destroy something. And it seems like everybody loves where they live. So I understand the residents' concerns and different things, but we're developers. This is what we do. We've had approvals from the zoning commission, from staff that agree with just about everything that we're proposing. That's what these people do every day. That's their jobs for you. You've requested them to do them for you, and I just encourage you to kind of follow along what they're recommending. The homes are different, price points are different, but they're really compatible with the neighborhoods, and they're not going to affect the property values in the area. So we're asking for your approval this evening, and I have two other presentations, one by Mark Locke and one by my brother Adam. So happy to answer any questions of me if you would like right now on any of the material I presented.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Mark Locke. I'm with NVR Ryan Homes, 884 Pleasant Valley Drive. Just to answer your specific question, in any community we develop or build in, we like to offer a as wide a variety of product as we can. The outsides of the houses have different architectural features, and more importantly, the insides of the homes have different features as far as whether it's a 3-bedroom, a 4-bedroom. Is the owner's bedroom a little bit bigger in this house versus that house? Across the board in any of our communities, when we offer a variety of product from, and I'll just use Rivendell in this case, from a 1,400 square foot ranch up to a ranch that could get into that 2,900 to 3,000 square feet, the top end and the low end of that range typically accounts for about 20% of the total sales, meaning that 80% of the total sales happen in that midway range. If someone wants a 1,400 square foot house and wants to add a morning room to it, if someone wants the 2,200 square foot house and wants to add the morning room, the bump out to the owner's bedroom, we want to be able to give them that option. But across the board, about 10% on both sides, 10% on the low side, 10% on the high side is what we see in those particular instances. The interesting thing about the age targeted, this craftsman style home, is the way the house is massed, and I'll show you this, and I know it's kind of far away. You guys have the square footage. Now, if you can look at this, and I can walk it up there, if you can pick which house is the 1,400 square foot house versus which is the one that's the base square footage of 2,200 square foot, you can't. They mass the width of the house from the street.
If I guess right, do I win it?
Pardon?
If I guess right, do I win it?
You'll have to talk. Yeah. Yeah. My point being, from the street, it's very difficult to tell, is that a 1,400 square foot, 15, 16, or 2,900? Where it comes is in the actual utilization of the inside of the house and the depth of the house. So if you were looking at a side elevation or view, you would be able to tell this house is 40 foot deep. That's probably the 1,400 or 1,500 square foot house. This house is 60 foot deep. It's probably the 2,100, 2,200 square foot house. It's just to give that
option. Could you
option.
perhaps pass that through the audience?
Yeah, this has been here for a year and a half. You guys want to pass this around? Help yourself. Again, it makes up a small percentage of the total sales. It's important for us to be able to offer as wide a variety as we can. If the trustees are so inclined to continue to allow us, if they would be interested in entertaining maybe a percentage not to exceed of the small house, that would help tremendously, i.e., let's say 10%, no more than 10% of the homes could be less than a certain square footage. Again, if we're unable to do that, we're going to limit that offering. And as Kyle said, with the recommendation they had, we would go from 6 homes to 4 homes. And that limits the marketability of the community. And by offering 6 homes, it gives us the ability to have a little bit different look throughout the community.
And what are the price points top to bottom on those? Estimated.
At this point, we're going to probably start in the 250s, in that ballpark. We believe we're going to average around 300,000 in this community. A 2,900 square foot home, building in that 170 to 190 bucks a square foot. We're going to be pushing on that home well over $300,000.
Thank you, sir.
No,
Any
thank you.
questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Culp,
Yeah, I
can,
have a
can you pull the
couple
microphone down?
Sorry.
So the 1,400 square foot home has kind of been a sticking issue for a while.
With
the approval of the plan, I would say there have been some comments about in the past that disapprove of putting a home in that's small in a district like this, in a development like this. Why is it still in the plan? Is it really that big of a deal to have 6 instead of 5 different plans available?
It is to us, yes, and that's the argument we made at basically all of these presentations, which was approved once and approved back in May by the zoning commission. Yeah, it is important to us. Again, someone that wants a 3-bedroom, 1,400 square foot house that wants to live in Miami Township and build new,
So these are 3-bedroom designs that you're talking
yes,
about?
they're 3 and 4 bedroom.
Okay.
Yes. It is very important to us. That's why I'm saying, if there's a concern that we're going to build 81 1,400 square foot houses, we're not going to do that.
Okay, how many home designs does Ryan work with right now? I'm not talking about in this development, but overall.
How many home types we probably have, including ranches, 2 stories, all of that,
Let's
probably.
say ranches.
Just ranches, probably 12.
Okay.
And of those remaining 6 from the 6 we're offering here, 2 are smaller, or actually 1 is smaller than that 1,400 square foot, and it's a totally different product line called our Lifestyle product line.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Adam Zengel, part of Zengel Construction Company. My address is 2431 Vienna Parkway. I spend quite a few days there. Over the past couple of years, I've had numerous discussions, both in person, on the phone. I've met with a number of people, exchanged emails. A lot of them have a common concern about non-Zengel homes going in to the vacant property next to Vienna Park. Some of them have concerns with property values, density, and then also in the case of what we're talking about now with Ryan, their construction, traffic, et cetera, et cetera. A number of years ago, we had a very similar situation in Washington Township, a little plat called Normandy Green, which is right there at Paragon Road and Alex Bell. Without going into all the details, I'll present the Reader's Digest condensed version. It was a infill plat of land we had amongst our other older Zengel homes. We started developing and we built 2 homes there in 2002, one for my wife and I where we live today. We built a few more homes. The new home market crashed, changed, whatever you want to call it, and we ended up agreeing to sell the lots to Ryan. We had 27 lots, and they completely built and sold out in around 2 years. When they started marketing, they had a sign that said prices starting in the 170s, so that would be probably 179.99. The lowest price home in that community was $192,000. The next lowest was $217,000. The highest priced house sold for over $355,000, and that was all in 2012, 2013. That same house just resold last year for $375,000. The average price was $268,000. So their marketing shtick, whatever you want to call it, is they have to have a basic home to get that in. That's just how they work. I lived there the whole time. No construction traffic issues. I've not seen any negative resale values, both in the adjoining neighborhood or the existing homes. The homes are well maintained. They've got an association that takes care of just the common area and detention pond. It's in good shape. Many of the people that live there have added outdoor living areas, very expensive decks, a bunch of metal fences, no chain link fences, landscaping. There's one family put an in-ground pool in. Another owner stopped me the other day because I'm the president of the HOA, and he wanted to know what he had to do to get permission to put an in-ground pool in. I've had similar conversations with some of the residents who live in Vienna Estates. We started that community back in 1991. That was the first attached unit proposal in Vienna Park. The first building, we had 3 units. The smallest unit was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit, 2-car garage, had 1,518 square feet. It sold for 136. That same year that we sold that unit, within a quarter mile, we built a house that was over 4,000 square feet, almost 3 times as much square footage, and the price was about 3 times as much as well. The picture that Kyle put up there before of one of the Mohawk homes and one of the Vienna Estates homes, the one unit in there is one of the smaller 2-bedroom plans. When we first proposed and we got approval for Vienna Estates, out of the 71 units, we had proposed 12 of those units to be the 1,518 square foot units. We built 2 of them that size. 5 of them we went up to 1,600 square feet, 3 of them were over 1,700, and the last 2, we changed the design and put a 2-story unit in there. So the smaller units, some people like them, but that's what you use to get people in. If they want to buy a 1,400 square foot unit, we'll sell them one. We built the 1,500 square foot units all the time. I've not seen any issues with resale values in Vienna Estates or Lorien Woods, which is another community of attached patio homes that we've done there. I think I had one last thing. I was going to say a lot more, but my brother limited me to what I could say.
Good job.
I got a
But
question.
I have, both in Vienna Estates and in my community where I live, Normandy Green, we have not experienced any of the concerns with traffic, resale value, property values, all the maintenance, all those type of things. We've just not experienced them. Thank you.
We have one question.
Yes.
Adam and Jim, and this is our third shot at this one. And when I came into the last time that we did this, was that November, October? It was last fall. I was all for it. I thought, walking in here that night, I thought this is finally going to happen. But the people that showed up with their concerns, and I wasn't as concerned about, I mean, you guys have built a great neighborhood over there at Vienna Park. And that's probably what's hurting as far as, you know, what some of the residents are thinking of the Zengel standard is, because you guys have built great homes. The concern that continues to stick with me is the traffic concern on those 2 roads. And I'm not going to say the resident that made the comment, but when I asked the resident last time, you don't want to get your water problem fixed? You'd rather deal with the water and not the traffic? And he said, absolutely. That's what changed my mind, because I've dealt with water in homes where I live, and it's an absolute pain in the rear, and I hate water. But if somebody's willing to live with that issue over a traffic issue, and they're that concerned over their neighborhood, and that's what most of the issues were. I understand that this has gone through zoning twice. And the zoning board is there to make sure that everything fits within the zoning code regulations. But they don't get to deviate from that. They don't get to take in public sentiment and their concerns. Because if they approve something that fits within the zoning code, then they don't have that flexibility. That's why it comes to the trustees. And from my standpoint, I still haven't seen enough to date to ease those traffic concerns on those 2 roads. And that's why I wanted to give you the opportunity to respond, because when we finished the last time, that was the number one concern was, if we can fix the traffic, I have a completely different perspective on the issue. But if we can't address what those traffic issues are going to be on those 2 streets, I want to give you an opportunity to know what my main concern is now, and give you the opportunity to respond to it before we go through all the public comments and we vote and we have to discuss it afterwards. So,
Well, in 1991, when we proposed Vienna Estates, 71 units, Rose Cliff was not connected to Silver Cliff, that other plat. So I think about 71 of those homes went in addition to probably 30 or 40 Vienna Park homes along Rosecliff, and then the Rosecliff patio homes were all built. Probably close to 100 homes were built between 1991 and 1999, thereabouts, when Rosecliff finally connected into Silver Cliff. And when we proposed building the 88 homes, we got approval back in 2007, that didn't seem to be the concern at that time.
Because I know there was some talk about, being able to go through the Chamberlain farm, but that's not a guarantee. No, we don't have anything in writing from the Chamberlain farm saying there's going to be a construction access or there's going to be a future road that's going to ease the traffic concern. That's still my main concern is the traffic on those two streets. So if there's a solution for that, I want to give you the opportunity to give us what the solution for the traffic problem is, because I know last time that was 90% of what the problem was.
A couple of things, I guess. Number one, all subdivisions, when they start, are going to put more traffic in one location, and it's been that way since subdivisions were started. You just start here, you make a connection. At one time, Vienna Park had one connection on Route, on Munger Road. Then later on, we brought the connection into Mad River Road. Later on, it connected into Carl's Ridge. Later on, it connected into Mohawk Trail, and then we went into Rosecliff. Eventually, it'll connect into Vienna Parkway. There could be a connection to the east sometime. That's just the way these things happen. You can't develop everything all at once. It's never been that way. There's been, and you can go in any subdivision that anybody lives in, that's the way it was developed. It wasn't developed as 200 lots, it was developed at something. So the traffic moves around and whatever. You have to rely on just the fact that it will change and things will get better. Traffic study, I think maybe to put this in context, currently on Silver Cliff, these are the traffic counts that were made. So 24 hours, or an average over 24 hours, there's 10 cars every 15 minutes that travel down that road. That's what it does right now today with the people. And a lot of these people living in this plat in Vienna Park are using that road to do whatever they did. So you could take this, if we started in at the Rosecliff, when we connected in there, all the people from Silver Cliff could have complained and shut everything down also. So if 30% of the traffic, when it's all done, everything is finished, and goes through Silver Cliff, there'll be 51 cars per hour. So it's going to raise to 13 cars per hour as the average. If you say 50%, so every car that leaves Rosecliff Place is going to continue straight and go Rosecliff and then go down Silver Cliff. It's not going to turn right to go Pine Grove that way. It's not going to go on Eckley. It's going to go Pine Grove to Silver Cliff. So you're saying every car that leaves Rosecliff is going to go right down two streets, boom, boom, boom. If everyone does that, 50% of it, there's going to be 15 cars every 15 minutes. So the peak averages, they go up. They're starting the same type of thing, but the chances of that are slim, and that's the kind of traffic that we're talking about. And I took these directly from the traffic study that Montgomery County engineer did. So it's not like there's 500 cars that are automatically going to be going down this road and traffic's going to be terrible and everything. It's just, it's a minimal amount of cars that are going in. And that's assuming, that nobody turns right on Vienna Parkway and goes out Vienna Parkway and down that way. So and once Vienna Parkway goes through, it eventually will go through. I don't know when. I'm not going to try to project that. I didn't before. But, then you're going to have traffic going the other way. So, yes, traffic, I understand that. Before Rosecliff was connected, Vienna Woods Trail was the hot button that everybody used. I live right off of Vienna Woods Trail. I heard people complain about Vienna Woods Trail. We connect Rosecliff, then the people are connecting on Rosecliff. You know, Mohawk Trail, you get the same type of thing. It's just the nature of it. But if you take those numbers and spread them out, it's not that, it's not life-threatening. It's not a major problem, I don't think.
I thank you for addressing it.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Henkelman, just for point of clarification, so if this board were to deny this plan this evening, would the Zengels and/or any future owner of that plot be able to come back, get that planned development zoned R2? They could do that.
I mean, the property owner has a right to request a rezoning. That rezoning would go in front of the zoning commission. The zoning commission would hear that rezoning as they would for any case, and then the final determination would be made by the Board of Trustees.
And I think as you presented it earlier, if it were to be redone R2, it could conceivably build 60 to 62 homes at 1,350 square feet, and the same traffic patterns would exist.
I mean, obviously, I can't answer the traffic patterns. We use Montgomery County Engineer's Office for that. Obviously, there's less homes. Potentially, there would be less cars with less homes. But again, all of that would be dependent on what is presented at that time. But the R2 district is a limited, you know, what is in the code, the exact language that's in the code is what we can and cannot regulate, which is different than a planned development because, as you see in your packets, there is development standards which are crafted.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Oh, thank you. We will now move into the public comment section. And just a reminder, the public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per. Mr. Henkelman will run that clock. So when you approach, please give your name for the record. And at that time, you will begin to speak. So we will now hear from any proponents. Anyone in favor of the plan, come to present. If you could approach the mic so we can get you on record.
Hello, my name is Michael Zengel. I live at 2660 Loris Drive. I'm sure Jim and Adam are having heart palpitations right now and expecting me up here at the mic. I have no dog in this hunt. I haven't been employed by Zengel Construction since, I believe, 2009, 2010. I would like everybody to remember a little bit, touch upon what Adam had said, but maybe to give it a more of a human face. I had my best years of employment in the family business. We were structured as a family business. We would love nothing more than to complete the development within the continuation of the Zengel name. And doing the quality homes we did. I had the good fortune to be the bricklayer, and when you go through the development, you see a lot of brick, and it still makes me proud to this day. We have to realize we're living in a different world. As a family business, we can't compete with, and my apologies to the representative from Ryan Home here, but I'll make the analogy. We're basically a mom and pop business within a Walmart world. And everybody's buying Chinese, or everybody's working for the lowest dollar. Everybody wants the square footage, and we can't provide that product anymore. So my proposal, or my final statement would be those who oppose it to understand that it wasn't, and I'm sure Jim has said this before, but it wasn't our first choice. And we would, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other proponents for the plan?
Bob Matthews, 2230 Cross Village Drive, Miamisburg, Ohio. So I've driven around this area a lot, and I'm very disappointed when I see a lot of plats that are developed with just vinyl siding on them, because I've seen how those look after a few years. So a few in my neighborhood have vinyl, and now they're starting to fall apart. I've always loved brick. I've loved the appearance. I think the fact that they're going to go 80%. That exceeds even a lot of the plats I've seen where they just brick veneer the front and then the other three sides are not brick. So I think that's a big plus on this plan. The second thing is the traffic. I think the traffic, I felt, I know Kyle can't really have a bias here, but at least not verbally up front, but I think he made it clear that those other subdivisions that had about the same number of people, same number of houses, were not having any issues. At least I didn't get any feedback that there was. Was that correct? Those others you showed were pretty much, there's no problems there?
I can't answer that. I don't know
Okay.
if there are problems. I just provided similar locations.
Yeah. It seems like to me there are a lot of streets to get in and out. And the other thing to think about here is, as they mentioned, I forget what you called it, it's for maybe older people like myself that are going to primarily live there. Although unfortunately I can't afford it because it does look like a nice place. Pardon? Age targeted. Okay, thank you. I can tell you from being in that age targeted group that we don't have kids anymore, and my wife and I don't go out and drive that much through the Platte. In fact, I think we walk more than we drive through the Platte right now. And so, because it's not moms running kids to soccer all the time and baseball and every other and ballet and all those, I think there's probably going to not really be a serious traffic issue. Also, people that are age targeted tend to drive a little slower, so that means it's not quite so bad to the people watching the cars go by. So overall, and I've watched this over the last few months, I think they've done quite a bit to try to accommodate what the concerns were. So I would hope that you would approve it. I also, one more thing, I think that the house price, the prices are talking about, if anything, that's going to help the houses around it, hold a higher value, because I think there'll be more of an association like that than these houses the new houses would somehow drag down the old ones. Certainly with these prices, they're not cheapening the neighborhood. And so I think and if anybody wants the larger homes like are in Vienna Parks, they'll go there and get a good value there. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other proponents wish to speak? Okay, we will now hear from any opponents of the plan.
Again, Thomas Grady, 2580 Vienna Estates Drive. Mr. Berry, I think you raise a valid point. Even though the applicable zoning regulation has been watered down, you still have to pass on the issue yourself as to whether or not this presents some kind of a safety hazard. I've driven on Mohawk Trail. I've driven on, and I've looked at Rosecliff. I see people walking on the streets because there are no sidewalks. On Mohawk, I've even seen a couple people pushing strollers with children in them. So those conditions are going to exist, and they're going to be impacted by the traffic one way or the other. But I really had two questions. The 1,700 square feet and the 1,400 square feet, does that include garages within that square feet? Garage space?
Can I answer that?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
the square footage of any product it's livable space. It doesn't include porches, stoops, basements, or garages. It's livable, usable square footage within the house. If you include that additional square footage, these houses, the smallest will be probably 2,000, probably about 2,000, 2,100 square feet.
Okay.
But you don't include those when you're quoting square footages.
Okay, thank you. The next question is one where I'm somewhat concerned and confused. Throughout these discussions, we've been talking about a 35-foot setback on the north side of the property. Tonight we heard from Mr. Henkelman there'd be a 25-foot setback. Then I heard there would be a buffer zone. I would really appreciate that being clarified, and I think it's a vital thing that should be included in the proposal in the correct terminology that really sets it out.
Absolutely. Sure. So you are correct in everything that you said. The terminology of a buffer zone is that setback. So the requirement for a planned development when a residential district touches a residential district is that there is a 25-foot buffer. What that buffer is just nothing can be constructed. Generally, it's a landscape buffer. In this case, the applicant is proposing saving the existing tree cover that's in that. But the location, there is one side of the development where they are proposing 35 feet. Again, there are 3 sides are 25 feet with one side being 35.
Speaking of the north side, I think.
Correct. Yeah, and again, so that is the buffer and the setback in that case are the same. The setback for a home is different. So that's where the home setback is the building envelope, if you will. So if you took the lot, which let's say is 80 feet wide by 120 feet deep, then that home, there's a situation where they can fit. It's got to be 25 feet from the front, 25 feet from the, time's up, 25 feet from the back, and then 6 feet from either side that you would have to meet to be able to even put the house. So what the applicant was stating is the backyard setback would be at a minimum 25 feet to the back of the house, but there also would be an additional 25 or 35 feet to the edge of the development because of that landscape area. Does that make sense?
No.
If you put the
Let-
thing on,
yeah, let
use
me,
my pointer, and this will take 2 seconds.
That's not a good one. I think I went the wrong way.
Just that.
Which one?
Okay.
This one okay?
Use the one with the green on it, because that's going to be probably a lot easier. Okay, what he's saying is around the perimeter, there is what we're calling a buffer. It's a no-build area. That's called a buffer area. Some people are calling that a setback, but let's just call that a buffer area. Within that, where the white is, those are the actual lots themselves. On each lot, there are setbacks that are required. And in this case, the setback for the front is 25 feet. The setback for the rear is 25 feet. So if you take this 25-foot green space, or buffer area as the township calls it, and add that to the requirement of a 25-foot rear setback physically on that building lot, the closest a house here could be to this property line would be 50 feet.
How about the north side?
Right here,
Yeah.
that's 25 feet. So it's the same thing, 25 feet. This has a 25-foot setback. So the closest this house, the back of this house could be to someone that lived here, or no, the closest it could be the property line is 50 feet. So if the house here is 50 feet off the property line, the houses are 100 feet apart. I think it was 35 feet on the west side. And it was a little bit wider, I believe. Am I correct?
No, it was the north side.
Was it the north side is 35 feet?
So you've got a
So
35-foot,
35 plus 25, so
okay, you got a 35-foot setback from the property line to the buffer zone, and another 25 feet in the buffer zone.
that's right, the 35-foot buffer zone. Don't call it a setback, because
All right.
that's why I
Buffer
think we're
zone,
getting
all right.
confused. This is a buffer, and then you've got a setback physically on the lot. So if this north line is 35 feet, the closest the back of the house on that lot could be to the property line would be the 35 feet plus the 25 feet.
Okay,
60 feet.
all right. You've answered it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other opponents wishing to speak?
Good evening. My name is Michael Lucisano. I live at 7014 Rosecliff Place. I'm also the president of Vienna Estates Homeowners Association. I live on Rosecliff, and as I see it, yes, there's been studies done with the traffic, but my concern, along with Mr. Berry's, is that, you know, we're going to get the brunt of this traffic. Everybody that leaves Rivendell is going to go the 600 feet from the entrance to Rivendell to the entrance to Vienna Parkway. After that, they're going to disseminate in different directions. But we are going to get the brunt of this. And we're going to get this for maybe 3 years if they actually stick with the plan to have this done in a 3-year period. So that's one of my concerns about the traffic. The other thing is, Vienna Estates Drive is a private street that we maintain. It's a horseshoe. It's bisected by Rosecliff. And we are getting ready to resurface that. we resurface them every 3 years. Now, my concern, and Adam and I have spoken about this, is that how do we stop these people that come out of Rivendell and decide that they don't want to go all the way out to Vienna Parkway, just going down Rosecliff, but they want to take a shortcut to the west or the shortcut to the east and go through our newly resurfaced roads and continue to put wear and tear on them. Basically, that's the other thing that I want to address is why do we, I understand that there's a profit that has to be made for these people that build these homes, but why do we have to have 6 designs? Why can't we do away with the 2 1,400 square foot and make it 4 designs, or put 2 1,700 square foot homes in there? Thank you.
Thank you.
John Bucklew. I live at 6965 Vienna Woods Trail. I have a question regarding under the title safety. At Silver Cliff, how many accidents per year is there? And 741, do we know that?
I believe I pulled that number. I believe we've had 5 in the last 6 years, I think.
We're blessed.
I can find that exact number.
We're really blessed because I think it is very difficult to make a left-hand turn there. I don't imagine if this development goes forward, it's going to get better. I think, especially when someone's at Cox Arboretum and you're there, that's a very tricky thing. Also, it depends on how well someone pulls over to the left if they're going to go north versus going south. Because, you know, you got to make sure the road clears. Under the heading of safety, I commend you for going ahead and buying the 7 acres with the idea that future development. But as a Miami Township resident, I feel much better about it if there's a date certain that Vienna Parkway would be completed. Because that's, to me, means we're moving forward and we are having safety. We're concerned about all the residents of Miami Township. Third thing I like to mention, I strongly support that we either eliminate the 1,400 square foot elevations or that we put a cap on the number of units per section. And the last thing I would like to mention is, it was very alarming, and correct me if I didn't understand, but if you build a house 100% brick, that means there has to be other homes. They could have other homes that could be less brick than 80. Did I hear that right?
That's per house.
No, sir.
So see, it's my age. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other opponents would please come forward.
My name is Jim Tier. I live at 7249 Mohawk Trail Road. I understand the concerns of the citizens with the traffic. I have that concern too. My main problem is water, the water flow from that property. I am at the lower end on the east side of that property in the south end where that pond is being built. I'm 5 houses up from Fox Run Road. My backyard is looking right at the field. Them trees and everything are pretty, but somebody went through a year ago and chopped them down like, I don't know, they're laying everywhere, which changed some of the water flow, I think. I get more water in the backyards along with the other 5 or 6 residents that are in the existing homes on Mohawk Trail just outside of their development. Now, my question is, I just saw tonight on one of your pictures where a proposed drain was to be installed along the back of our properties, in between on that east side. I don't know where that picture's at now, but that is my concern, because I have problems with water, big problems with water. And if they're going to propose three sections, they're going to start with section 1, how much more water am I going to get before they get to section 2, which is behind me, and that needs storm drains, probably from water that's running off from the streets and the homes in section 1. Plus, if section 1 doesn't do good, I guarantee you Ryan won't go to section 2 or 3. The builder who took the responsibility now would have to either sell section 2 and 3 to somebody with homes or do something with it. So why not, if Ryan's totally committed to this project, why not require them to put in the storm drains and stuff like that, and the ponds, so that people don't get the flooding problems? The flooding problems goes over into their homes also. I don't know if any of those people are here tonight, but they have the problems too. I don't know why you as trustees can put in stipulations that such and such has to be done. I know. Section 1 and 2 should have all the storm drains and catch basins and ponds installed prior to any building of homes. That way we know we're protected.
Kyle, can you address there was some discussion about this last time, about when the retention ponds are going in? You know what order they're going in, or when, or Chris?
I would have the applicant address that initially in terms of what their plan and schedule is. They will have to go through the county engineer's office.
Well, you can ask them. I've been here, I don't know how many meetings over this. Ziegler's are straight shooters. I feel comfortable with them. Ryan has said things, and a couple meetings later, oh no, I didn't mean that. So you can talk back and forth as much as you want. I'd like to see you, as trustees of Miami Township, our trustees, get it in writing what they're going to do before it's approved. That's all I'm asking.
Part of that would go and would be debated as part of a final development plan on each section. Obviously, at that point, we would have detailed engineering of exactly what the impact is going to be with that section of the development. And that question certainly could be addressed at that point.
Well, I understand it
prior
can
to
be
any
addressed,
homes
but
being
prior to
constructed.
an approval?
Well, they would not be able to build any homes. If the project was approved tonight on a preliminary level, they still have to come back before they can build any homes or do any development on the site and get a final development plan approved. So there would be an opportunity
I would like to
still
know how the
develop that.
trustees feel about it then. Would they support that? That no homes be built until all the catch basins were installed and the ponds installed for section 1 and 2? Would you guys support that?
Sir, if you give us a moment, I'd like to hear from the applicant with an overall addressing the idea of how the site development process happens and how you expect it to happen with regards to these three proposed sections. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I would like to see what the county engineer says.
Pardon?
I'd like to hear what the county engineer has to say
Yeah.
before I comment. I'm not a water flow expert.
I understand that.
But
I'm not either,
Yeah.
but I see it.
But
So
you're asking what my opinion is. I want to see what the engineer says. So
Correct.
thank you.
Okay.
Just in general, give an overview of when you approach a development in three phases like this, how is the site developed from the water flow standpoint?
Well, I think first off is we can't do anything. We can't start, we can't move forward. Nothing can happen until that plan is approved by the Montgomery County engineer. And there's multiple issues that go through, and that's both, and now the Montgomery County engineer is in charge of all the phase 2 water quality, everything like that. So all the water, where it flows, what it looks like when it goes through the detention basin, there's all these calculations that our engineer, Ryan's engineer, developer's engineer was going to put together, and come up with a concise way where every bit of water is going to drain on that property.
Regarding all three phases in one plan.
All three phases. Section 1, the water will drain to the first detention pond, which is there at Rose Cliff. Which is right, yes, thank you. That's where the first phase, where the water is going to go on the first section. Section 2 will go down to probably the bottom one. It will probably, yeah. Both of the other two development ponds will be built in Section 2. So he's not going to have additional water flowing on his property at that point in time if we just do Section 1. So it's all engineered, it's well thought out, it's all designed, it's not haphazard, and it's going to be all figured out before we approve. You won't approve it without an approval from a Montgomery County engineer. I mean, it's as simple as that. So we can't move forward without that agreement. And I hope does that help you?
Yes, thank you.
And just to add, I think the thing to remember here is this is a preliminary plan. We have to come and do this back in front of the zoning commission, back in front of the trustees with all of this specific information. If we don't meet the standards and requirements of not only Montgomery County, but the Township, Ohio EPA, the Corps of Engineers, when it specifically comes to drainage, the Board of Zoning is not going to approve it, nor will the trustees approve it. They can't approve it unless we meet the requirements that will guarantee that the drainage of this property works accordingly. Again, this is the preliminary stage of that. We're going to be back doing this again probably in 5 months, 4 to 5 months after we get our final approval for the preliminary. We're going to be doing this again with the information that we'll be able to say, here's what the engineer has designed, here's what Montgomery County has said about that design, here's what the Ohio EPA has said about that design, here's what the Corps of Engineers have said about that design.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other opponents? One more comment. Yes, sir.
Who's going to tell the Montgomery County Commissioners or whoever they go to the problems that exist now? Who's going to tell them? Anybody know?
Good question. So go on forever.
Well, I think right now, my comment to that, and I was going to share it later, is I visited with a number of the residents. I haven't met with you, sir, but I did meet with the residents over at Vienna Estates, and when it rains, there's a flood. I mean, everything washes right down Rose Cliff and floods that entire area. I'm actually very hopeful, and I will tell you, sir, that I will present at those meetings to the Montgomery County engineers because I want to solve that problem. And the only way, in my opinion, to solve that problem is to invest in the development of that land, because right now that water's running into your backyard, it's flooding all of their places. It needs to be controlled, and my hope is that through this development we can solve that problem.
Will you be able to tell
I've got videos shared by some of the residents that I've already shared with the county engineers to say, you know, granted, I don't know how this is going to go tonight, but should this not pass, how can we solve this problem? Because there's water flowing freely there.
I'm glad you admit that. I know that.
Yeah, it's a nice little river. You float a boat.
I'll try to be brief. Since 1986, stormwater control was first developed and engineered in 1986. It's the first one we put in, but it was right around that. So the mid-'80s was when the water. So the engineer has been designing these things for over 20 years now. They really understand them. They can see the water. There's these calculations. They look at the plans and whatever. And I know you don't believe me, but I can tell you that the detention ponds that we have put in, and we put in 3 of them, and the specific one on Vienna Woods Trail, right at the corner, has stopped a majority, if not all of the flooding on Eckley Boulevard over the years. They know the rainfall, it's all engineering, and they know what that is. They can see it, they can figure it out. They are well aware of it. I've talked with them. The engineers know of the water issue along that space. I can tell you that with a fact.
Can I say something?
one comment, and then let's move on.
I appreciate what he's saying, and I don't disagree with what he's saying. What I am asking, because it's Ryan Homes, that they do section 1 and 2 water system before any home is built. And I hope that's a stipulation. I know that these people build good homes, they build good streets. I see them. I see them.
I can say with confidence, sir, that the Montgomery County Engineer Department and this Board of Trustees will not approve a plan in Phase 1 that will negatively impact anyone that wouldn't get, they will be addressed singularly, but they will not have an adverse impact on the other parts of this development should the development not move forward, would be my intent. Any other opponents? Yes, ma'am. Come up together.
John Pappas. I'm at 2316 Vienna Parkway. That's right at the Rosecliff and Vienna Parkway. Actually, I'm not an opponent so much as I just want to get some information. Three things that I've been thinking about while this discussion has been going on. One is that one lot that's been taken out so that there's a possibility of getting a road through to 741. Is that going to be part of the final plan?
The proposal from the applicant does not have that as being an open lot. The zoning commission recommended, as part of their recommendation, that lot, lot number 21, which is the lot that's right there, get removed to allow for a future access. So there's no, again, that's the recommendation from the zoning commission.
Okay, I think it's a great idea because I think we need to have some way to get to 741. Right now, you have to go around Robin Hood's barn in order to do it. The second thing is the service road for the first phase. There's talk about getting one put in so that it goes directly into Vienna Parkway. Is that going to be part of the requirement before they start any building or not?
Unfortunately, we don't control that land. It's not in the township. It's in the city of Miamisburg, and it's not owned by the Zengels nor the township. So we will have to negotiate the rights to take any traffic through that property. And certainly also with regards to the zoning commission's recommendation of leaving that lot open for potential development, we have no idea how the city of Miamisburg and that other homeowner or other landowner will sell that property, and whether they're going to want to construct a street that butts into that property.
Just temporarily, you think?
My hope is that we can negotiate an access road for construction traffic that lasts through this entire development. But
that would be great. I think that would allay a lot of the fears that some of the residents have. And the third thing is it's already been mentioned, and that is that if there could be a limit as to the number of 1,400 square foot houses, he said 10% usually. So some number I think would be great to have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address as an opponent?
Virginia Lucisano, 7014 Rosecliff Place. And in reference to this construction road, I was wondering how this ever got approved without a dedicated construction road, in the planning, first of all. And second of all of this construction traffic is going to be coming down Vienna Parkway right into Rosecliff for 2 blocks, which there is about probably 12 homes there. And there's no sidewalks. And I just feel like that we're going to be affected with all of this construction traffic down these 2 streets for 3 years because of no way that anybody has been able to figure out how to get a dedicated construction road. And I don't feel like that the residents of us that live on Rosecliff Place, that it's not fair that we should have to be subjected to this for 3 years. Also, with the construction traffic coming right down where I live, is going to be tearing up the streets, obviously, for 3 years. And I think that people should think about a bond to be put aside for monies available to get these streets fixed after they're done with their construction. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Carol Pappas, 2316 Vienna Parkway. Our driveway is on Rose Cliff, so I know the traffic's going to be horrible, but I would like to see something set. I want to be assured that there will be a construction entrance or no approval. And then also I want to challenge 10 cars per 15 minutes on Silver Cliff. That's hogwash. I use it a lot. I can't tell you how often I pull over to let a car through, or they pull over and let me through. It's very heavily traveled, and I would like for you to conduct a study on that. Thank you. And
Thank you.
guys are on the ball.
This young man in the front row has been trying to get up many times. We're going to let him in.
Rod Clark, 7206 Fawnwilla Court. My concern is nothing's been said of when Fox Run is going to be finished. Now, that's supposed to be a fire access. At one stage, it was only going to be a temporarily available for fire access, but now it looks like that's going to be the second road permanently. Is that going to be paved and everything while the phase one is built so that you have a fire access from two directions?
Mr. Enkelman, if you could address that.
Sure. The plan that is shown now shows phase one coming off of Rose Cliff, as you can see on the right side of that photo. On the bottom of that photo, or the east side of the development, there is a public road that is being proposed to connect to Fox Run. That would go in as part of phase two as a public road. The Miami Valley Fire District, though, will require that some form of access is created in phase one. So whether that is a public access or not in phase one, I can't answer that. It's dependent on the Miami Valley Fire District and the applicant. If the applicant decides they want to put the public road in phase one, they certainly can, but they will at a minimum have to meet the Miami Valley Fire District's access requirement on Fox Run. In phase one. In phase two, they're showing it being completed.
I just don't want other trucks, construction trucks, using the fire road if it's just a temporary road. So I don't know how you can prevent dump trucks from going through a road that the fire trucks are going to be using.
Thank you, sir. Are we permitted to give presentations in sandals? Just want to make sure. Sandals are permitted, just want to make sure.
Thank you, I apologize. My name is Tony Groshek. I live at 2635 Vienna Estates Drive. I'm pleased that the board is addressing or raised a question about safety and traffic. That's one of my primary concerns. The Miami County engineers do a great job of quoting numbers and street dimensions. When they looked at Silver Cliff, the numbers are right, but what they failed to look at is population density and traffic on the street. I didn't come prepared with detailed information. I recommend that the board just look at Google Maps, look at Silver Cliff, and look at Lehigh and Cordell, the streets that the Miami County engineers compared Silver Cliff to. Just look at the lots, look at the number of homes on the comparable distance of streets. Then at 7:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning, drive Silver Cliff, see how many cars are parked on the street versus the other two. It's dangerous in the morning. Before I retired, I drove out Pine Grove to Silver Cliff to 741. there are blind spots on the road because there are so many cars parked there. I've come close to having an accident because of that. The same thing happens on the return. The other streets that were used, or the developments that were used by the Miami County engineers to talk about a development with a single access to a major road, I believe it was Kings. Kyle, can you help me with the two?
I believe
one was Bellsburg and the other was
Keystone Court.
Keystone Court.
Right.
Interesting. They're both developments of between 80 and 100 homes, a single access to a major road. On Keystone Court, it doesn't go through, the point of access does not go through a residential neighborhood. It goes straight out to Lamb. Doesn't have to go through any other homes with families living in it. Bellsburg, you've got about a quarter of a mile till you get out to Mad River. With Rivendell, you're going to have to go probably a mile and a half, again, go out through Pine Grove and Silver Cliff to get to 741. A quarter mile versus a mile and a half through pure residential neighborhoods. The engineers are good at quoting numbers. The quality of what those streets are and the residential neighborhoods is going to be seriously impacted. One last point. We've talked about the traffic on Pine Grove and Silver Cliff. Is there anybody here from Pine Grove or Silver Cliff? Were they even made aware of this Board of Trustees meeting? We know they're going to be impacted. I dare say they are not aware that this meeting is going on to give you their input. I think you should have it before you make a final decision. Thank you.
I would just comment to that, sir, that I have met with the residents of Pine Grove and Silver Cliff. I walked that neighborhood. I've met with those individuals. They are very concerned about the approval of this project and the additional traffic coming down that area. But they are also excited about the possibility of the completion of Vienna Parkway, which obviously is not on the table here today and is not guaranteed in any specific timeline. But should that happen, they're not only excited, they think it'll alleviate the current traffic problem, which they believe is in excess.
If I may, two other comments. This is valuable property. The land that the Zengels owns need to be developed. It's good for the surrounding properties. It's good for the township. I'm still not convinced that this is the right development at the right time. Last point. I appreciate, Mr. Morris, you're walking along Silver Cliff and Pine Grove. For one of the zoning commission meetings, I walked that stretch and gave flyers to people so that they were aware of the meeting. And like you, I've talked to a number of them, and they are very concerned about the traffic. They don't like the traffic that they have now. They know this is only going to make it worse. Thank you again.
Anyone else?
My name is Marjorie Brookhart at 7200 Fawn Willow Court. Mike, I know there's a lot of talk about Silver Cliff and Rose Cliff and everything. Fawn Willow is a cul-de-sac right off of Fox Run Road. There's a four-way stop at the corner of Fox Run Road and Mad River Road. And I just feel like if this is built, that a lot of those people are not going to be going out Rose Cliff, but they're going to be going out Fox Run because they can get to the four-way stop and go right or left onto Mad River. And I just think it's going to be an awful lot of traffic, and there are a lot of families along, not only from the cul-de-sacs, but along Fox Run Road that have little children that are out playing.
Thank you.
Douglas Brookhart, 7200 Fawn Willow Court. The original plan that was from 2007, you were looking at 66 homes. They were showing like 1375 square footage and stuff. Now we're talking about 80 to 88 homes. We're talking about 1,400 to 2,000 square feet. But tonight we hear 2,900 be thrown in here. Now, if it's just the first change, you're looking at 20 to 40% more runoff from driveways, roofs, and everything else off of that property. If it's 2,900, it's a whole nother number. We got to get something a little more concrete than we got here, because even a county engineer, if we got a problem now, and we've got this much flexibility in numbers, 1,300 square feet to 2,900 square feet, the driveways, the roofs, you're talking about a big percentage difference of runoff, and if nothing is handled properly, you're creating a bigger problem than you ever dreamed of.
Thank you.
Janet Clark, 7206 Fawn Willow Court. If I understood correctly, you said that if they were going to have a construction road, that it would take lot 21. And that was, zoning said that would be a good idea, maybe. But did you say also that Ryan was not going, they're planning to build on lot 21? That's not decided to be left open in case that, so they could use that for maybe a route for construction? So if it's a good idea to do it, and zoning recommended doing it, but I heard that Ryan wasn't going to do it. It sounds like they're going to build a house on that lot. So that was one question that I had. And secondly, if they do use that lot and as a route, if you can negotiate anything with Chamberlain property and all this we're talking about from 741, that means you're going to cost farmlands and open lands, so you're going to have to do something even to make a construction road. Pave, gravel, I mean, you got to have something. They're not going to run in the mud. So my question is, who's going to pay for that? Now, if they're expecting like the township, we're supposed to come in and negotiate this and pay so they can have a safer construction route. Well, residents of Miami Township don't want to pay so that the developer can make money selling these houses. So we're going to help him, you know,
We're not
pay
paying
out
for
any
it.
of, you know what I mean?
We're not paying for it.
So if we don't pay for it, it's probably not going to happen. So as a result, we're back to the same thing. We got the Rose Cliff and the Fox Run, and you know, no sidewalks, kids out walking, kids playing, people parking, and now you're going to run all this construction again. So that I'm just concerned about lot 21, and then who's going to pay to get a road to that? And it sounds like it probably wouldn't happen for construction. So now we're back to the same two roads, overly trafficked and very dangerous again. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Oh, we got one more?
Almost had it.
Almost got it.
Hi, my name is Jeff Robinson, 2366 George Lynn Trail. Raising a little bit different of a concern here, see how best I can share this. So with the advent of social media and all, you're able nowadays to see Facebook groups of other people who have concerns about the builder, in this case being Ryan Homes. And so I just wanted to share, as a homeowner in the area in Vienna Woods, very concerned about the property values, because there appears to be a trend that Ryan Homes used to be just a builder, but now they're really a mortgage company, NVR, that happens to also build homes. And as you read the stories, a lot of people are upside down from day one with what was sold to them and how it was packaged within NVR Mortgage. So there's stories about because people are upside down, foreclosures happening in that area and not able to sell at the property value that they originally had. So I know a lot of the concern has been about traffic and other things, but I would love if Single was building the homes, but be very clear they're not the builder, and it's a mortgage company that happens to build homes. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I didn't appreciate that comment.
Any other comments? All right, we will close the public comments portion of this zoning case.
Second.
I'm not even going to take a vote. We're all in favor. Prior to making a motion to close the public hearing, I'd like to give an opportunity for any members of the Board of Trustees to make any further comments.
I said all I needed to say.
Mr. Culp, do you have anything to share? Yeah, I'm good. I would just like to note that, 8 months ago when this case was heard, I was on the other side of the aisle, and I was fortunate enough to be elected to this Board of Trustees. And a wise citizen in this neighborhood asked me, the prior trustees voted no, what really has changed? One of the things that disturbed me a little bit the last time this was voted no was that there were really no solutions to be offered. And clearly there are a lot of challenges with any development. But my comment to those that are listening and those in the audience today is that a community that does not grow and look forward and try to solve its problems is a community that's dying. This development, whether it's today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, there will at some point be a development there. People who bought homes on Vienna Parkway knew that at some point Vienna Parkway would be finished. You may or may not have been informed that this land was available for sale as an extension of Fox Run or Rose Cliff, but the representatives on Fox Run don't want construction traffic on their street, and the representative of Rose Cliff don't want construction traffic on their street. We don't own the land that can guarantee construction traffic. I cannot tell you that we can solve all the problems, and clearly we have not. But what has changed is that you have a board that is actively going to work with the developer, that will hold them accountable to this plan. This is a preliminary plan that we're voting on. With regards to drainage, I have seen it in the backyards. I have seen it live when it rains. It is a problem. I'm confident that we can work with the county to solve those current problems, and I want that to happen. With regards to home values, I live in a Ryan home a mile from this development off of Munger. A lot of people don't know that Sycamore Hills were all Ryan homes. It's a great home, and you drive down my street, and I think it's a real high-quality product. So I'm not overly concerned with the home values. Safety's the biggest issue. The only way we solve this safety and traffic issue is to finish Vienna Parkway. This township has acquired the land, and I am committed to getting Vienna Parkway completed, but I don't have the money to do it today. The only way we can get Vienna Parkway completed is to find a buyer for that property or to raise other funds. And we're going to look to do that as fast as we possibly can because that is the safety issue. We want to get that street done. It's going to have a traffic signal. It's going to solve the safety issues on Silver Cliff and Pine Grove. And the TIF that we passed earlier tonight will allow us to accumulate funds that we can use to solve the traffic easing issues, to talk about a potential speed bump or traffic circle or whatever it is. I mean, I had one resident say, why don't we make Vienna Parkway a toll road? I don't know how to do that, but maybe we figure out a way to do that. I think that's a heck of an idea. We'll pay for it. If you don't live on Vienna Parkway and you want to drive on it, pay us $1. I don't know what all the answers are, but I can tell you that I am very pleased to be on this side working for you. I am pledged to work for you, and this staff is committed to doing whatever we can. So with that, I will make a motion to close zoning case 393-07.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris?
Aye.
Mr. Berry?
Aye.
Mr. Culp?
Aye.
Are there any discussions over any proposed modifications?
Nope.
If not, I will make a motion to approve resolution 052-2018, a resolution to adopt a major modification to the preliminary development plan for Rivendell under zoning case 393-07 for land zone PD1 planned residential district. Therefore, be it resolved, the Miami Township Board of Trustees adopts the major modification and preliminary development plan under zoning case 393-07 and upholds the zoning commission recommendation. Is there a second? There does not appear to be a second to the motion. Is there another motion to be made? Any discussion?
Well, my discussion point on this is a good project, and this is eventually going to happen, but we have to get these safety issues fixed before I am going to be in favor of that. I feel for your water issue, but my number one concern and my number one concern on sitting up here is for the residents of Miami Township and their safety. And that is what we were elected to do, is do what is in the best interest of the residents. And so I can't, at this point in time, without Vienna Parkway being finished, second that motion. So I will make a motion that we approve resolution number 052-2018, a resolution to adopt a major modification to the preliminary development plan for Rivendell under zoning case number 293-07 for land zone PD1 Plan Residential District. Therefore, be it resolved, the Miami Township Board of Trustees denies the major modification of the preliminary development plan under zoning case 293-07, and what would be the other, what? Overturns the zoning commission recommendation.
I'll second the motion.
With regards to discussion on this topic, I don't see the value in delaying this development at this time. We have acquired the property. We have installed a TIF that will allow us to immediately start collecting dollars, which we can use to leverage and finish this road in a short period of time. The plan is there to get the safety issue resolved. Do we have the money in the bank today? No, but if we approve this plan today, this traffic is not going to start tomorrow.
And the road won't be finished tomorrow either.
That's correct, but we're not going to start any construction on any of these homes for over a period of a year. We have a year to collect taxes, to work with the township, to work on the sale of this property, and I firmly believe that we will have the ability to complete this road in a time to make this safety issue a non-issue. I don't see any value in delaying this any further. I think we put this entire development at risk. I think there's a possibility that if this is not passed now, just to give some light on not only a safety issue relative to traffic, this is a safety issue for the entire township. Now, we've heard from a lot of residents in direct proximity to this, but this development, once completed, I asked Mr. McCord to give me some preliminary estimates. 80 homes at the tax value there, it won't help the road. So the Road and Bridges Fund will get next to nothing out of this development. But we're looking at an annual $50,000 going to our fire department and $66,000 going into our police fund. I mean, that's an officer, that's a cruiser, that's new equipment. That's the safety of this entire township. So as much as I love the people who live in and around this development, I live there. I have to work on behalf of the entire township. This development will help the safety and the betterment of our entire township. It tells developers that we are a township that's willing to work with them. They've given many modifications, upgrading, as Mr. Henkelman said, on 80% brick. And again, they could go back, get this done R2, and put in 66 homes that are all vinyl siding, and none of these issues will be solved. I just don't see any value in delaying this at this time.
I voted no on it last year, and to date, nothing has significantly changed with the resubmittal of this project for me to go back on what I stood on before.
Mr. Culp, I would urge you to reconsider. It's clear Mr. Berry is holding to his prior. I would like you to reconsider the impact of the entire township, what this says to all developers, that we are a township, when whether or not we are going to work with our businesses and our developers to come and want to build here. I just think it sends the wrong message to deny this preliminary plan at this time, when I think we have a strong confidence that we will get that road done and this will become a non-issue. I don't want to discount the drainage issue. I mean, these people, I'm surprised. I had gone, one of the reasons why I went down Rose Cliff and Pine Grove and talked to the Vienna Estates people, because I wanted them to come in here and say, hey, we want this development. It solves that problem. It doesn't create an immediate traffic problem. It does not create an immediate safety concern. If we do not do our work and finish that road, then it could, 1 to 2 to 3 years from now. But the time is now to get this passed.
I agree. It's a valuable development that should go forward at the first possible opportunity. But I don't believe that we've made sufficient progress on determining exactly when Vienna Parkway will be completed, nor do I believe that we've determined what the solution is for the construction road, nor do I agree with the assumptions that are made about the size of the homes that should be going into this development. So for those reasons, I won't support it today, but I look forward to supporting it at the earliest possible moment, because I do believe that this development solves the water problem, in particular in the Vienna Woods area.
Well, then why would we not put forth a resolution to modify the zoning commission recommendation to ask for only, I mean, the representative from Ryan said he only thinks 20% of these homes will be the 1,400 square feet. So some of the residents even came forward and said, put a restriction on the number of those homes. I'm sure that the developer would much rather leave today with an approval and a recommendation on 4 homes and a restriction on the number of small homes than no resolution whatsoever. So I would again employ one of you to put forward a different resolution that would uphold or modify rather than reject. That said, there was no, hearing no other resolution, there is a resolution and a second.
Mr. Morris?
No.
Mr. Berry?
Aye.
Mr. Culp?
Aye.
Okay, so we have now completed our public hearings. We are now open to elected officials' comments. Mr. Berry?
I have nothing this evening.
Mr. Culp?
I have none.
I have nothing further. Mr. Newell?
Nothing tonight.
We have no study session planned. We have no executive plan. I will make a motion to adjourn this meeting at 8:41.
Thank you for your comments, sir.